The Lord has called the scourge that will end all nations a consumption. Consumption is the historical term for tuberculosis, a disease which literally consumes the body. But the Lord is not talking about tuberculosis. It is not the body that will be consumed by the plague, but the entire world. The earth is being consumed of its life. The Lord decreed the consumption of the entire earth long ago. Isaiah knew of the decree and prophesied its certain finality. Modern translations of Isaiah's prophecy highlight the point that the Lord, before the time of Isaiah, had made a determination to consume the earth. By using his military title, Lord of Hosts, the Savior is signaling that the consumption will be brought to pass by his heavenly host, the planets. It will be the planets, specifically Mars, that will consume the earth. The Apostle Paul spoke of Isaiah's prophecy of a latter-day consumption in his letter to the Romans. He repeated the prophecy in Greek, which changes the meaning of the Hebrew original. Paul is emphasizing the swiftness by which the Lord will carry out his decree and the righteousness of his justice. The Greek translated by the King James translators as cut short is more clearly rendered as execute speedily. In righteousness refers to justness of the judgment. The Lord used the same wording as the apostle in a revelation to Joseph Smith concerning the scourge. He said the plague will be cut short in righteousness. If we apply the sense of Paul's original Greek to the modern revelation, then it would read something like this. The high mortality rate and global extent of the future consumption qualify it as a pandemic in its general sense. There have been numerous pandemics throughout the history of the world, the most deadly being the Black Death or bubonic plague and the 1918 Spanish influenza. The pandemic of the apocalypse will far exceed any past pandemic. The Spanish flu is believed to have killed about 3 to 5% of the world's population. It is estimated that the Black Death killed 30 to 60% of the inhabitants of Europe. But as deadly as those pandemics were, the coming consumption will empty the earth, taking the lives of almost all the inhabitants of the earth. There are a number of deadly plagues recorded in the historical accounts. Yet there is at least one pandemic that, although it has been recorded, is not considered a pandemic by modern historians: the pestilence of Egypt. The pestilence of Egypt must have been a pandemic, given it was a mirror event of the consumption of the apocalypse. The Lord chose to limit the effects of the pestilence, but made it clear that he could have easily used the disease to wipe out all Egypt. Historians likely do not recognize the pandemic nature of the plague of boils, since it does not fit their preconception that pandemic diseases must be communicable. Many discount the plagues entirely as fanciful.